What's good, internet? Jake here, dumb as ever, and growing up I did not vibe with Power Rangers at all. I would watch it when it was on TV, of course, because there really wasn't too much choice back then, and I had a couple toys. But I really didn't like watching live action stuff as a kid. I much preferred cartoons, and I don't know, even though it had robots like my favorite show, Transformers, it just didn't keep my attention. Fast forward to 2025, and I have just discovered Super Sentai, the original show that Saban used as the basis for Power Rangers. Basically, they took all the action scenes from a Super Sentai series called Kyoryu Sentai Zyuohger and cut them together with footage of American teenagers with attitude to create this weird hybrid show. Even though I'm not a fan of Power Rangers, I do think it's very interesting in a historical sense. Super Sentai has been around for 50 years, and while the various Power Rangers seasons have adapted many different Super Sentai series, there is also a ton of Super Sentai content that was never adapted for America. And that was probably the most exciting part of getting into Super Sentai for me, because a lot of these seasons explore incredibly cool and weird ideas, and featured some really badass toys. So in today's video, we're gonna talk about 4 seasons of Super Sentai, and their toy lines that never made it to the West. Also, I'm sure some people in the comments will be upset that I called Super Sentai Power Rangers in the title. I totally get it, the two series are not interchangeable in any way, but calling it Power Rangers is the best way to get Western fans unaware of Super Sentai to click on a video like this, at least in my opinion. And one of my main goals for the channel has always been getting a general audience interested in the omega nerdy stuff I'm into. Do I love calling Super Sentai Power Rangers? No, but if it gets someone who has never heard of Super Sentai into the series, then in my opinion, something as simple as a YouTube title is well worth it. Okay, enough yapping about semantics. Let's get into the superheroes and robots. Okay, so we'll be going oldest to newest, starting with the 2014 series Ressha Sentai ToQger, which is a series based around trains. It's about a group of people recruited by the conductor of the Rainbow Line, a set of colorful trains that only children can see. These young heroes are recruited because Japan is being taken over by the villainous Shadow Line, who arrive to different cities via train stations, and different monsters make humans depressed so they can reap the darkness that emanates from them. Our young heroes become the ToQgers, a group of superheroes that can stop these monsters. The ToQgers are interesting because they are actually identified by number rather than color. Super Sentai doesn't use the Power Rangers format where the red guy is always called the Red Ranger. The naming convention changes from season to season. For example, the Red Ranger from Abba Ranger, the original version of Dino Thunder, is called Abba Red. But in the case of the ToQgers, they actually go by the numbers on their chest. For example, the Red Ranger's name is Tokyu Ichigo, which means 1 in Japanese. They go by numbers because the ToQgers have a unique color switching gimmick. Their morphers, called the Tokyu Changers, activate when they put little versions of their trains on the device, but they can also take the trains out and swap them with each other, transferring their color and special weapons. It's a pretty fun gimmick, though it's debatable how useful it actually is. Sometimes it seems like the ToQgers just do it for fun, which makes sense because they are warriors of imagination. The Rainbow Line and their abilities are all powered by their imaginations, making them strong enough to fight the Shadow Line. Of course, after beating most monsters, they grow to gigantic size. The ToQgers can combine their different trains to form ToQ-O, a giant mecha, which is insanely awkward looking in my opinion, but he is just a goofy guy and I still like him. But let's move on to the actual toys, starting with the Tokyu Changer. Most Super Sentai toy lines are split into 2 groups, roleplay toys and mecha. Action figures are more relevant nowadays, but for most of Super Sentai, including ToQger, action figures really didn't matter. The Tokyu Changer can do exactly what you'd expect. It can slot in all of the different trains, and makes lights and noises based on what train is slotted into the changer. What's really cool is that the trains that form the mecha can also be used in the changer. Speaking of the mecha, it is a very cool toy, coming in a set of our 5 main trains. The transformation is interesting because they are all connected in a row, and you transform them into robot mode from there, forming the mecha called ToQ-O. Again, the robot mode is hella awkward looking, but I still think he's cool. It's literally just a dude made out of trains, so I gotta respect that. Just a warning from here on out, I would consider the toys I talk about spoilers for ToQger. Heck, I'm kind of spoiling myself by making this video, but that's okay, I'll enjoy the show regardless. The next mecha is made of support trains, which are found by the Rangers scattered throughout Japan. They combine together to form a second mecha called Diesel-O. I actually like the look of this mecha a bit more than ToQger. Something about the proportions just looks better to me. I also love his big fat blockhead. You can combine Diesel-O and ToQger together as well, which makes ToQger even more wide. I love the giant shoulder cannons, they look insanely cool. The next train is used by the 6th Ranger, who is orange. This train seems to be construction themed. It's legit 2 stories tall and has a crane arm. It can transform into a mecha called Build-I-O. I like that he has one of those reflective safety vests, and the crane coming out of his forehead is super neat. He can of course combine with ToQger, creating an even beefier robot, which now stands on a rolling platform. The final mecha is massive. It's a gigantic steam train with 3 alternate modes. The first mode is actually a station where all 5 of the main trains can be stored. I think this looks awesome, really love the idea. It also transforms into a large robot called Teo, who is chunky as hell. All of these mechs are essentially fancy bricks, but Teo is the fanciest and the brickiest. And finally, it can form and combine with all the previous trains into Rainbow ToQger. I gotta be honest, this form leaves a lot to be desired. It's kind of a cool idea, but it mostly looks like a guy with trains glued to his body. It also doesn't help that his feet are merged together into one big toe, so he looks like an oversized Pez dispenser. He also doesn't use all of the pieces from the other mecha, so when you put him together, you end up with a pile of half-built mecha. Overall, I like him on his own, but the final form is pretty disappointing. I'm sure he's cool in the show though, so I'm looking forward to that. Overall, Ressha Sentai ToQger is a very unique show. The train theming is very cool, and I'm assuming Saban passed on adapting it because in America, we don't really do trains like that. Okay, let's grab our train passes and travel to our next stop. The next series we'll be discussing is Doubutsu Sentai Zyuohger. In full disclosure, this is the only series I haven't been actively watching, but it looked really interesting and my Discord members showed me some really cool stuff from it. So I decided to watch the first 5 episodes for this video. The show is really cool. It's about this zoologist named Yamato, who stumbles upon a giant cube that sends him to a secret world called Zyuland, which is inhabited by anthropomorphic animals called humans. Yamato is able to activate the large cube with a smaller cube that was given to him as a child, which turns out to be something called a champion symbol. At the same time, evil aliens called Deathgalians arrive on Earth, which will be the place of their 100th blood game, a sick game where they slowly destroy a planet for the amusement of their master genus. Yamato and the humans return to Earth at the same time of the first attack, and the humans transform into the Zyuohgers to stop them. Yamato soon discovers he can also turn into a Zyuohger with his champion symbol, and together the group is able to defeat the Deathgalians. The Link Cube is destroyed during the battle, leaving the humans trapped in the human world. Though their champion cubes can disguise them as humans, thankfully, the show is about the humans trying to adjust to Earth life while they search for a champion's cube that can heal the Link Cube. For what little I've seen, I really enjoy this show. I think it's a good mix of funny and serious elements. I like that the humans have this fish out of water storyline, pun intended, and the action is really, really good. Something about the choreography just seems a bit better than the other shows I've seen. The show is based around cubes, and to be honest, I have no idea why. Like, thematically, I don't understand the importance of the cube shape, but it is interesting for the toys, since everything from their changers to their mecha is cube shaped. These guys are the OG Beast Box toys. Speaking of toys, let's discuss the Zyuohger line, starting with the roleplay toys. We of course have the champion symbol, which acts as the changer for this season. It's a cube that also doubles as a little flip phone, and pressing the number pad corresponds to the different characters. It's kind of like a truncated Rubik's Cube, with only the top part rotating. There's also the Zyuobuster, which is a weapon used by the whole team. It can be either a sword or a blaster depending on what cube you have at the front of the weapon. Moving on to the mecha, it's cubes galore. The entire mecha system is based around cube animals that stack on top of each other totem style, creating different robot modes in the process. I absolutely love these guys, they're so cute. Cube Lion is adorably ugly. The team's main mecha, Zyuo King, is made up of 3 3 cubes at a time, with the number of mix and match options available, though the eagle, shark, and lion combination looks the best to me. I really like how you stack them and then unlock the robot mode with the giant sword. That's just too cool. Every combination for the original 5 cubes does require Cube Eagle, but there were several cubes released over the course of the show, including Cube Gorilla, who can form the top half of the mecha. I really like that he can shoot his hands gold light tan style, and you can combine all 6 cubes to form Wild Zyuohger King, who looks so derpy, with giant arms and super skinny legs. There are also auxiliary cubes that form weapons for the larger mechas, like Cube Giraffe, who can transform into a bazooka. This guy showed up in episode 3 and I absolutely love him. A little goofy giraffe is always a pleasant surprise. Next up was the Cube Rhino, which is actually more of a cube carrier, which is really fun. He combines with Cube Crocodile and Cube Wolf to form Tosei Zyuohger, who honestly looks really cool. Probably one of the best standalone mecha in my opinion. But of course he can combine with all the previous cubes to form Wild Tosei King, which I also think looks really good, especially since he has to use so many random cubes. Finally, we have our big mecha of the show, Cube Whale. He kind of turns into a cube, but mostly a rectangle sort of thing. But his whale mode is absolutely awesome. I love the giant water spout. He transforms into Dodeca-O, another massively chunky robot, though he does have a gigantic case of Pectus excavatum. Super Sentai really makes you appreciate these chunksters, man. The toys are obviously cheap in a lot of ways, but they go all in on a gimmick, and I gotta respect that. The final combination is the absolutely goofy Wild Tosei Dodeca King. He looks so ridiculous with his legs being made out of blocks, but honestly I like him a lot more than the final ToQger mecha. Something about him is just so charming to me, and with only 5 episodes watched, I'm charmed in general by Zyuohger. I definitely have to make time to watch more. I should also mention that Zyuohger is still really popular in Korea of all places. In fact, to this day they still make exclusive cube animal repaints just for Korea, being marked with letters instead of numbers, which is fun. It's kind of interesting how that all worked out, and I wonder if other countries have similar deals with random seasons of Super Sentai. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing. It helps me a lot. And if you'd like to support the channel further, I have a YouTube membership and Patreon. For $1 a month, both let you watch exclusive bonus videos, like this video where I talk about Aba Ranger, the Super Sentai that Dino Thunder is based on. I talk about the show and toy line in this exclusive bonus video, and you'll also get access to my super chill Discord community. Okay, back to the video, thanks. The next entry in this video is possibly the most bizarre, Ohsama Sentai King-Ohger. This was the second series I decided to watch because I like their suits, and oh my god, I was not prepared for this show. The entire series is set on an alternate world called Terra, where humankind is under constant threat of the Bugnarok, bug monsters that live underground who wish to destroy humankind. Humans are split into 5 kingdoms, with each kingdom being ruled by a king who is also a ranger. These kings get their powers from the Shoe Gods, large bug robots that can combine into the mecha called King-Ohger. Since the show is set in an alternate fantasy world, Toei made use of giant LED green screen technology, similar to what The Mandalorian used. And with this technology, they created an entire new world. As weird and off-putting it is at first, I can't help but like it. The actors really sell that they're in a living world, and at a certain point, I just stopped thinking about it. I'm sure the look of this show will put many people off, but it's actually a very interesting Super Sentai, because the team is often not on the same page, with all of them having their own interests due to wanting what's best for their own countries, and of course playing a Game of Thrones involving intrigue and betrayal. And all of the characters have so much personality. I love them all for so many different reasons. My go is Rita, the sovereign of Gokon, a country that basically functions as a courthouse and prison. Our introduction to Rita is them sentencing a man to prison for scalping Mofun toys. Mofun is an in-universe cartoon and toy line, and Rita, who is usually completely stoic and serious, is absolutely obsessed with Mofun. Like, almost psychotically obsessed. Such an interesting character to me. And they're also a Purple Ranger, which is really cool. Oh, also midway through the show, there's a time skip, which really shocked me. And the second half of the show is feeling just as fresh as the first. But let's get into the toys. The main changer the King-Ohgers use is the Ohger Caliber. which is a badass sword that low-key functions as a bop it. Like most weapon toys, it's a bit undersized, but still really cool, and the colors running through the blade just looks awesome. But the real star of the King-Ohger line is the mecha, because unlike previous series, the mecha toys in this line are surprisingly articulated, way more than any previous series mecha anyway. The mecha in King-Ohger are called shoe gods, and they're giant robot bugs. The 5 main rangers make up the main body of King-Ohger, which is decorated with 5 other minor shoe gods. I'm not gonna lie, when I watched the show, I was kind of confused by the mecha, but seeing it in toy form really helped me understand what was going on. It looks insanely cool, and the articulation just puts this figure on another level. There are auxiliary bug weapons introduced in the form of other shoe gods, like God Kabuto, a beetle that turns into a gigantic cannon. Combining all 3 of the auxiliary shoe gods to King-Ohger creates a new form, Legend King-Ohger. And if this guy looks like a mess to you, just wait. It gets way crazier. There were also smaller weapon shoe gods. My favorite is the snail. The next big mecha introduced was God Tarantula, the shoe god of the 6th Ranger, and oh my god, he is awesome. The Tarantula mode looks so good. I feel like a lot of spider transformers end up looking flat, but God Tarantula really has the dimensions of a spider. I also really like these 3D glasses looking goggles it has. His robot mode, Tarantula Knight, is so cool. It's uber articulated like King-Ohger, but even more so since it's not made up of a bunch of smaller guys. Easily one of my favorite looking mechs, piloted by one of my favorite characters in the show. Of course it can combine with Legend King-Ohger, forming Extreme King-Ohger. I have to say that while adding articulation is awesome, the more that gets added to King-Ohger, the more unstable it seems, but thankfully there is one more mecha that somewhat stabilizes him. The King Caucasus Kabuto mecha, which transforms into a giant castle. Though he looks like a castle about as much as Metroplex looks like a city, it can also transform into a giant beetle, which is really cool, and of course it can turn into a big chunky robot. And while it isn't as articulated as the other mecha in the series, it's also not as chunky as the previous final mecha we've discussed, but y'all know me, I love a chunkster. And the black and gold look is really regal and cool. As expected, this guy combines with Extreme King-Ohger to create the mecha's final form, God King-Ohger. And oh my lord, this thing is a monster. How ironic is it that the most articulated mecha becomes such a brick? I mean, look at those feet, those are literal bricks. And they were much needed because God King-Ohger's backpack goes for miles. This dude is more layered than lasagna. It is such a cluster, but I have to respect this mecha. It's perfectly ridiculous. King-Ohger is such an interesting show with a really cool toy line to match. At this rate, I think it's going to be the first Super Sentai that I fully finish, and I'm really happy about that. Our final entry is actually going to be the most recent Super Sentai season, and it is also the first Super Sentai I ever watched. Number 1 Sentai Gozyuger, which is a season celebrating the 50th anniversary of the franchise. Tokusatsu shows like to do anniversary seasons where they directly pay tribute to older shows. So Gozyuger is a battle royale show, where many different players called Universe Warriors are fighting to collect every Sentai ring. Once collected, the god running this battle, Tega Sword, will grant their wish. Every Universe Warrior looks like a Red Ranger from a previous season, and their different stories often mirror or reference the original season they came from. The main team we follow is different though, because they are a proper Sentai team made up of different colors, and it's been kind of obvious since episode 1 that they are going to be the winners of this battle royale. Though since there will only be one winner, there's often infighting between them, though it never gets that serious. Number 1 Sentai Gozyuger is a show I was enjoying a lot. I did feel like there were some obvious plot issues, but I found the show funny and fun, and it often surprised me with its wild ideas. Though sadly the show has been racked with behind the scenes drama, with the biggest instance being the first female Black Ranger getting kicked off the show. Japanese actors use agencies to get work, and unlike in America, agencies truly control their Japanese actors. The Black Ranger's agency reported that she had been underage drinking, and totally dropped her, negating her contract with Toei for Gozyuger, meaning that she was not allowed to work on the show anymore, and she wasn't actually allowed to be on screen at all, even for stuff they had already filmed, so they had to scramble to replace her with another actor. This was all really disappointing. As an American, I could personally care less about an underage actor drinking, especially considering the drinking age in Japan Japan is 20 and the actor is 19. And the Black Ranger didn't make a scene in public or anything. As far as I can tell, she drank privately and then the agency reported on it and dropped her. I can't help but feel like something is weird as hell with this whole situation. I'm no expert, but a lot of what I've read suggests that Japanese actors are not always treated correctly. There is a lot more to the situation. I'm giving you the Cliff Notes version basically, but this whole thing really put me off the show. So I actually stopped watching and replaced Gozyuger with ToQger for my Discord watch parties. When the show finishes, I'll go back and watch the rest. But yeah, I was pretty disappointed with this unnecessary drama. I still personally enjoyed the show from what I watched, and I'm sure I'll enjoy it when I watch the rest. But let's get out of all this drama and talk toys. Gozyuger's toy line is a bit different from everything we've discussed previously in a few ways. First of all, the roleplay toys in this line also function as the mecha. So every roleplay toy transforms into a robot, or parts of a robot, which is pretty unique and we'll get into the details of that. But what is also interesting about the line is that it's compatible with a new line by Bandai called DX Robo Universe, which means the line is modular to a degree. The DX Robo Universe line has been putting out different mecha from other seasons, such as ToQger. I think this line is neat, but you lose a lot of the charm of the other mecha in it, and some component pieces are really truncated and awkward looking. You can of course swap some of these pieces onto ToQger and other mecha from Gozyuger, which looks kinda cool, but let's talk about ToQger itself. I actually got super lucky and won a giveaway last year, and I won the Toys R Us exclusive set that comes with ToQger and a bunch of Sentai rings. I'm really happy I won it because importing from Japan can get expensive, especially these days. ToQger has two modes. The first is his changer mode, which looks like a gauntlet with a sword sticking out of it. You can insert different Sentai rings to get different sounds, and it has a little rhythm game to it, which is fun, though it still works if you're incredibly offbeat like myself. These toys are made for kids, so my hand doesn't quite fit, but thankfully I have small hands, so it's not that bad. The transformation is extremely simple, and you end up with a heroic looking robot. The robot mode uses a specific Sentai ring for each ranger, and I only have Goju Wolf's mecha ring, but that's kind of his default look in the show anyway, so I don't mind. Each ranger has their own roleplay weapon that doubles as an attachment for ToQger. For example, Goju Leon has a Gatling gun style blaster, and it can be taken apart and attached to ToQger, giving him a giant blaster arm. You can mix and match these different attachments, and you can probably attach all 5 weapons, though this hasn't happened in the show. The next mecha that was released is ToQger, the main enemy of the Gozyugers. ToQger is an AI replica of ToQger, though she's quite different, and a lot of the season is about AI trying and failing to replicate human traits. ToQger is a retool of ToQger, adding some straps all over while replacing the sword bits with a gun barrel. A decently cool idea. She transforms just like ToQger and in general has a similar shape. The next unique mecha is Goodburn, and I was lucky enough to get this figure as well, thanks to my friend Kenneth who went to Japan last year and was able to pick it up for me. Goodburn is the mecha used by the 6th Ranger, and he transforms into a boxing glove sort of gauntlet. Robot mode reveals a beefy bruiser sort of robot with giant fists. He can combine with ToQger to create a new form called Whiteburn mode, which looks really chunky and fun. I usually keep these figures displayed in Whiteburn mode. One complaint I have about Goodburn though is that he doesn't have an on-off switch, which is really annoying because I don't love toys that make sounds, and I don't have an option to easily turn Goodburn's sounds off. The next mecha introduced is Orca Booster 5050, which is a blaster that is shaped like a whale. I love the clear wheel around its body. You can add Sentai rings to it as well, which is really fun. It can combine with ToQger to form ToQger Akatsuki, a samurai looking robot. I love his look, though his head really lacks a lot of detail. But again, I love the clear ring. It just adds so much to his vibes. The final roleplay weapon released was Ryo ToQger, which is a badass looking chunky blue sword. I feel like most toy swords can look goofy thanks to the child-sized proportions, but Ryo ToQger looks really cool to me. It can of course combine with ToQger to form Giant God Ryo ToQger, which looks absolutely awesome. One of his coolest forms for sure. And you can make it even more cool by combining all of the Rangers' weapons, making the only official mecha where all the Rangers combine Ryo ToQger 5 color, which is really cool looking. I will say while these toys are neat, the Orca Booster 50/50 and Rio Sword not having individual robot modes is kind of lame. I'm interested to see if there will be some mega combination with all the components by the end of the show, but I kind of doubt it as that would usually be in the show by the point it's currently at. Overall, number 1 Sentai Gozyuger is a mixed bag, both in terms of the show and the toys, but I think I'll always have a soft spot for it as my first Super Sentai. So I got into Super Sentai last year and they're freaking canceling it, or rather it's going on hiatus. I guess toy sales have been down for quite a few years, and since Hasbro owns the Super Sentai license in the West, Toei can't globally expand. So they're shifting over to something called Project Red, and are starting it with a show called Super Space Sheriff Gavan Infinity, which looks cool to me. It's based on an old show called Space Sheriff Gavan, but it's explicitly not a reboot, I guess more of a reimagining. I'll definitely give it a shot because I imagine it will be similar quality to Super Sentai, but it is a bit sad that my first season of Super Sentai will also be my last for a while. Thankfully there is 50 years of history to go back and watch, so expect more videos like this in the future, and let me know what series you'd like me to cover. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed, please consider liking and subscribing. And if you'd like to support me further, please check out my YouTube memberships and Patreon. For $1 a month, you get exclusive bonus videos and access to my super chill Discord server. Alright y'all, I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.